Yeah, I did like 6 half Ironmans in 6 months, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. Like, I haven't found anything about you.
I was ranked number 1 in the world in my age group, because when you train a lot, your immune system usually is a lot lower. Things take like magnesium, Q10. When I go to the doctors now, I'm considered to be anorexic. It was a 250k self-supported race in the Atacama Desert in Chile. So self-supported means that you have to take everything that you need for the race. Every Christmas we still have that joke that, oh, he's still vegan. Which, I just can't lie to myself that I feel better, and it's showed in the ability to run every single day, to race, so much. Like, not many people can race 30 times a year. So I always try and, run on grass or trails or something a bit softer. But that's the key, is like you do those things on a regular basis so you don't get to the point that your body breaks down.
Hi my friend, and welcome to Unstuck, the best podcast on holistic health. My name is Nick, and honestly I wouldn't mind being your favorite host from now on. What does it feel like when you have to deal with any health-related problem, whether this is severe or mild? Are you experiencing anything like that right now? If so, do you feel like you're stuck in that problem and you just want to solve it and get better? Have you noticed that regular medicine, most times, only worries about treating the symptoms rather than looking and fixing the root causes? I believe that optimal health requires a sprinkle of awareness combined with an holistic approach. That way, I truly transitioned from the stuck body-mind condition to an unstuck one. And I apply and will apply this same concept to any new health-related problem that comes up in my life. This podcast is not about me, but it's about how I can use my experience combined with my guest experience and expertise to help you get unstuck too, while I gain more knowledge at the same time. So get ready to hear some interesting stories and pay attention to facts and tips my guests will share with you, and I need you to make those yours so that you can implement them in your daily life. To help you do just that, today I had a chat with my amazing guest Vlad Ixel. He's an Australian elite multiple trail running champion with wins in over 40 ultramarathon races across Asia, which, if you're wondering, that's a lot of races. He's also been a super successful triathlete and tennis player in the past. Vlad is a vegan enthusiast and founder of BIX Hydration, an hydration supplement he created with the aim of fitting all the minerals humans need in one unique tablet. I'm super excited to share with you our insightful chat where we talked about muscle recovery, mobility work, vegan diet, cold and heat exposure, addiction, running tips, and probably more I can't remember right now. What didn't we talk about? That's probably an easier question to answer. So all of this to say, you do not want to miss this one. Welcome, Vlad, to Unstuck Podcast. It's a pleasure for me to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us what your story is and how did you end up running?
Yeah, I mean, like any other young kind of 20-year-old, I was kind of going to the gym, drinking, smoking quite a lot, going out, being addicted to caffeine, energy drinks. And I got to the point just before my 25th birthday that I was just sick and tired of all of it, and I didn't want the next quarter of my life to be as unhealthy as that quarter, kind of living to 100 years.
Only?
Hopefully. So, I kind of thought like, this is a good chance to change things around here. And a marathon was always something that I wanted to do because my dad was a runner when he was young. He ran in the Soviet Union in 1967, 68, like a long time ago. Then he had to go to the army, stopped running at the age of like 20. But I knew in the back of my mind that he was a good runner. And I always had that goal to do a marathon one day just for myself. And I just thought this is a perfect time. I had a look and there was the Perth Marathon. And 2 or 3 days before it, you can still sign up on the day. This was back in 2012. I went there, I paid for my bib, and, I just did it. And it was painful, it was hard. I literally could not walk for 3 weeks after it. But that kind of feel of achieving something, that satisfaction was incredible because I was the world champ in like starting things and not finishing them.
Oh, okay. And
then just doing something as simple as that, it took me just over 3 hours to start something and finish it. That kind of finishing that goal was just addictive in many ways.
Okay.
And yeah, since then I've done over 250 races.
Wow.
I've traveled the world for ultra marathons, short races, triathlons.
So you did triathlon as well?
Yeah, I did like 6 half Ironmans in 6 months, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. Like, I haven't found anything about you.
I was ranked number 1 in the world in my age group. I was ranked number 1 in the half distance, so like the 70.3. I've never done a full Ironman. I've done the half Ironmans. But yeah, I think that was 2017 or 18.
Was that the first time that you actually ran?
I was like a good tennis player when I was young. You know, when I was in school, I went to school in Israel, and I was like on the running team, I guess. So you like, you know, I would just do the competition. Like there wouldn't be any training, but like, you know, I was always a sporty kid. So like, you know, we would go like twice a year. There'd be some cross country race and we just kind of do it. The school teacher did say like, come and train in the athletics club. And I was probably maybe about 10 years old, and I went to the athletics club in Israel, in Haifa, and did maybe 3 or 4 or 5 sessions with them. We were pretty poor back then. So like, you know, and, you know, the guy's like, oh, you need to bring the money for the training. And it was something small. Like, you know, the training could have been like, you know, $50 for 6 months. But like we literally I couldn't even ask my parents because I knew we didn't have it. Yeah. And like, you know, every week I go, yeah, next week I'll bring it, next week I'll bring it. And it got to the point I just couldn't go anymore. And that was kind of where my running stopped. Yeah. And yeah, I played a bit of tennis, you know, growing up. I quit when I was 17. And then from 17 till 25, I was just going to the gym every day, thinking I was healthy, like looking in the mirror and kind of going like, yeah, I'm healthy. You know, but I wasn't really healthy. Like, yeah, I didn't have any energy, and running definitely kind of changed my views about health and feeling. And even though probably the amount of running that I do right now is unhealthy.
That's another thing as well.
It definitely, especially in the beginning when I made that change and kind of go, wow, I have energy throughout the day, and you know, I'm quit smoking and I feel so much better.
Were you a heavy smoker?
Probably from like 21 to 25, about a packet a day.
I mean, it's not that long.
It's not crazy long. It's not a crazy amount as well.
I wonder how it started though. Like usually kids start smoking when they're very young. You started quite late.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously we had like, you know, a cigarette here and there at the age of 12 and 10. And, you know, I got caught smoking in school in year 5 when I was like 10. Wow. You know, brought to the principal and caught smoking in school. Because I was in tennis, like I was like, you know, away from all that. But then, yeah, when I turned kind of 17, 18, started slowly smoking, and it just became more and more to the point that, yeah, when I was 20, 21, it just got a part of your life. And, you know, all my friends were doing it, so I thought it was okay. I was working in restaurants, you know, I was managing a restaurant. So, you know, it's that lifestyle that didn't really help.
That's what I find. Usually people there, you know, smoke, drink, whatever kind of addictive behavior is usually to make up for something else or to fix something else, like, you know, you didn't like your job or your whatever was happening.
Yeah, or your environment, like, you know, you're surrounded by people that finish work at midnight every day. So like, you know, work is a bit stressful, so you want to finish it with a few cigarettes, you know, a few glasses of wine, and you get into this cycle, and it's an unhealthy cycle. Yeah.
Can I ask you, from when you were a kid, what are the sports that really got you excited and you actually had fun playing?
Oh, soccer. Like, you know, I played soccer before school, during lunch breaks, and after school every single day.
Same here.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big part of my life, you know. You know, again, I was a good player. I was good enough, but my parents never had enough money for me to go to a team. So even though, you know, I'll go like once in a while, and for the trial, like sometimes I would have like an open day. And yeah, obviously I was good enough to play in teams, and, you know, you needed to pay $300 for the year just to get the jersey and the shoes. Yeah. And we just didn't have it. So, you know.
I had the same situation when I was a kid. I wanted to go to do gymnastics, and my mom wouldn't let me because of the money. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to do it at the park, and I kill myself.
I mean, I still played, but like, you know, it's a shame that I never got into a system. I mean, I didn't get into any coaching, any system till we moved to Australia, till I was 14. And that's when, you know, I got into tennis. And, you know, when I started playing tennis, like, you know, I moved to Australia, I got a racket in Kmart for like $25 at the age of 14. And by the time I was 15 and a half, I was in the top 64 in the country. I was playing national kind of level tennis. So yeah, I was kind of picked it up really quickly, but I wish I had years of playing tennis as a junior.
I'm quite sure I read something about your tennis journey where you said that you learned to like it.
Learn to like tennis?
Yeah. Is it right, wrong?
I mean, I always wanted to play tennis. Like, you know, as a kid, I always watched, you know, tennis on TV, you know, but again, never had the opportunity to play it back in Israel. But when we moved to Australia, I really wanted to play tennis. And my parents got me 4 lessons for my birthday, and that's when that kind of rolled.
Okay.
And yeah, I would play against the back wall in our unit. Like we had a little unit and a little back wall, like 2 meters away, and I would just play tennis there after school by myself against the wall as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Like that's something maybe you expect like a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old to do, but I was 14, like but
I'll do it right now. Like if I have a ball and a racket, why not?
Yeah, but like the goal was to improve, and I had nobody to play with. I came to Australia, I didn't really have any friends. So yeah, that was my only chance. And yeah, I mean, I love tennis. Like, I still love the sport. It's just physically, maybe I was there, but mentally it's a tough sport. Like, it's something I did not have at that point.
Yeah. But you found the sport for you as being a way to connect with people and to just build friendships and...
Not really. I don't think so. I'm not,
No.
I'm personally a very closed, introverted person. And I'm happy with that, to be honest. Sport for me was just trying to succeed at something. I think for me, it happened to be running, and I saw some success early on, so I kept at it, and I'm probably still doing this now because I'm winning races and I'm doing well. Do I really love it that I would do it every day if there weren't any races? Probably not. Same with tennis, I loved playing the game, but I wanted to be a professional player. And when I knew that that's not going to happen, I stopped playing the next day, and I became a coach.
Yeah. I actually feel you, because that's the same thing I do. I like winning, and not just winning because I want to win on other people. I just want to win on myself. Like as yesterday, I want to get better and perform at the highest level. And I know that anyone can become the best if they really work and believe in it. I mean, work is big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just being successful for me was, and it can be in different levels. Sometimes success means this or this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that path kind of took me through tennis, and I had a little bit of success in the beginning. Then it didn't really work out. I stopped, and then it was running, and yeah, maybe it'll be something else tomorrow. I don't know. But it's like me taking on triathlons. I literally, somebody contacted me to ask if I coach him. I would coach him as a triathlon, because I was doing a lot of online coaching for running, especially for ultra distance, what I was doing. And the guy sent me a message, hey, can you coach me as a triathlete? And I said, look, I really don't know anything about triathlons, but give me a few months, I might do a couple of triathlons. And next thing you know, I went and started swimming, and I never swam in my life. I could swim, but I never had a swimming lesson in my life. My first, actually never had a swimming lesson. I got to this pool. We were actually in Europe, and I literally just, I could swim 25 meters, and I was a good 100K runner. I was top 25 in the world at, ultra trail running at that time. I was representing Australia. So I was a good athlete, but I could not swim 25 meters. And then literally from the next day, I would swim twice a day for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. Because if I would swim for more than 10 minutes, my muscles would just hurt, my form would go down the drain. I would go on YouTube, learn how to swim on YouTube, bring my laptop to the swimming pool, learn all the drills, and kind of do that. And I went all in on triathlon. I remember in Germany, because this was when we were in Europe, and I remember in Germany just doing 4 triathlons in 4 weeks as, my first triathlon ever. And then the next week, another one.
Yeah.
So I really kind of go all in whenever I do something. I kind of, really kind of take it in. So yeah, it could be something else, but I mean, as long as I'm doing well, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Once I feel I'm maybe not doing something so great,
you want to change it.
You want to change it, yeah.
Do you feel like you enjoy the heat of?
I feel I like the improvement and the journey, and then the reward at the end of it. But once it kind of does well for a while, then the satisfaction is a bit less there, and you look for some other successes around it maybe. And I guess I lost a little bit of passion into running after I won maybe 50 or 60 races, so then, doing a bit of triathlon, was fun, or, now starting my own business and having a bigger challenge is definitely a little bit kind of, something that I'm a bit more passionate about.
So can you explain to us what is an ultramarathon?
I mean, technically it's anything over a marathon. So if we actually speak technicality, is a marathon is 42.2 kilometers. Anything above that is an ultra marathon. I've done a lot of 50K races, which technically are considered as an ultra marathon. But, in my own kind of head, an ultra marathon is anything that really, really hurts. And for me, that becomes painful maybe after 60 or 70K. That's when you really kind of start talking to yourself and you go through some dark moments and you still have 3 or 4 hours to go.
Yeah, that's the question I actually wanted to ask you. What's the thinking pattern that you go through when you actually, started to feel like it's a challenge in a race?
I mean, you try and stay positive. Like you try and take your mind to like a happy holiday that you had or a training session or like something happy, which is very hard because your body wants to stop. You're not going to keep going. You might like, especially if you're competitive in a race, somebody's coming behind you or like, you're trying to move forward. So you try and stay positive as much as you can, which is not easy, especially when like, oh, I have another 50K, I have another 40K. On the trails, that's not like on the road. It's not another 2 or 3 hours. It can be another 6 hours. So, if the days that you are strong enough to do it, it's you can have ups and downs. So you can feel good and feel bad, feel good, feel bad, and then make it to the finish line somehow. And also happened to me that a lot of races at DNF'd, so I didn't finish. I stopped. Like, I remember literally 2 years ago in Chamonix, I was doing a race and it was a hard race and my body wasn't feeling 100%, and mentally, people are overtaking me because I'm slowing down, and suddenly I find myself in like 30th or 40th spot, and I kind of go, I'm looking at my watch and I go, I probably have another 5 hours of walking in these mountains, like, and then I just saw the next aid station and I decided to stop, which a few years ago I would have never done, like, but with time you kind of realize that you got to be smart as well and look at the big picture as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I want to be the man and finish this race, but I've already finished like 60 ultra marathons. Like, I don't need to prove myself anything.
Yeah.
And there's no point for me to kill myself now and finish 100th place in this race when, I have a sponsorship and, I have sponsors that, want to see results. I'd rather stop here, take an easy day after it and get back to training the next day. So I think that the mindset does change over time. So in the beginning, there's no way I would stop. Like, when I just started ultra marathons, I could be dying and I would not stop. I'll make it to the finish line.
Yeah.
But over time, like, it's not that you get softer, you just maybe get a bit smarter because, killing yourself is not always the answer. And I think there's a lot of people, motivational speaking online and YouTube and everything like that. Or you just got to go hard all the time, and that you need to be smart at the same time. And if I have sponsors that I need to make sure that I re-sign another contract so I can pay rent, there's no point for me finishing 100th place in this race. You kill
yourself and then you fuck up everything else.
And then my race in 2 weeks time, I can't do it now. So I got to be smart. So I think that that's kind of something that you learn with time, and then with more things that are around you. And after I got married and stuff like that, and we have a mortgage and there's other responsibilities, you just become a little bit smarter. So that mindset thinking, in a race when it gets hard, definitely changed from 8 years ago to right now.
I think that's actually a good metaphor for life. Many people just push, and they never actually listen to their body or to their mind when it's time to stop, just because they are just addicted to just feeling shit sometimes. And that gives me a good point of view. It's just a good metaphor on how to approach life as well. Sometimes you can stop, it's fine.
Look, there's a lot of times where you just got to push through. You got to push through, and doesn't matter how you feel, what's up, you just got to keep going, keep pushing. But then, there's also times where you have to be smart.
Yeah.
But it's after you've already achieved quite a lot or achieved a good amount and you're like pretty stable in your life, where you got to be smart about when you push, when you actually use your energy, when you don't. Which I think that now at 34, I can see it a lot better than when I was 26.
Yeah. How many Ks do you run every week now?
I think it's between about 150 and maybe 160 a week on average. So about half a marathon a day for the year. Like if we divided the whole year, I would run half a marathon every single day of the year. Actually, yesterday was my first day of not running for, a good few years.
Yesterday, yeah.
I had a race on Sunday. I had a marathon on Sunday, and it didn't really go to plan. And that was the first time that I had a day where I wasn't running. So I would run a day after 100K races. I would keep training every single day, which wasn't the smartest thing all the time, but that was the mentality that I had. But now that I'm, in a different place in my mind, I have to be a bit smarter. Like, all right, you're 34, you probably have another 3 or 4 years of being a competitive runner, or whatever competitive means to me. And then, I have a mortgage, I have a family, I have a business, I have to be smart. So I had a day off, I'll have a day off today, and I'll have a day off tomorrow, and then get back into training. And then running will probably be a little bit less important to me going forward. As the pandemic hit, I lost my sponsorship, so I can't justify running half a marathon every single day. In the end of the day, you don't get paid for running. You only get paid if you have sponsors.
Yeah.
The prize money in races, like, I'm not really up there to get that money. So if you win New York Marathon, you get a lot of money. If you win Boston Marathon, you win it. If you're not there, like, you're not making much money.
Yeah.
Like, even some of the people that you see on TV, like in Golden League meets, like on the track, some of the winning prizes there is €1,000. Like, it's not that much.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. So yeah, I think I'm at that point where, I want to run for myself or a bit of personal success, but also have to be kind of realistic. Can I invest running twice a day for another 7 years? Like, what's the benefit? What's my return for investment at this point, which is getting a bit lower. So I think kind of literally in the last few months, that's where I've been heading towards, is a little bit less running. And, it's kind of like with progression with time as I get older, that's kind of the nature of life, where I want to spend more time with my family.
How damaging is running for your body?
Yeah, I mean, if you run 5 kilometers a day, I think that's healthy. But when you start running half a marathon a day, it's heavy on the body. But the way I look at it, running for 2 hours a day could be better for you than sitting in an office for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, it's perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's a lot of unhealthy things that we do in life, that we don't see as unhealthy.
Yeah.
I don't think that running is bad for your knees. Like, things like that a lot of people ask me on Instagram. I get so many DMs, your knees bad. I've never had anything with my knees. As long as you're smart about the things that you do about running. If you sit in an office all day and then you finish work and you had McDonald's for lunch and Hungry Jack's for dinner, and then you go for a run or something and your knees hurt, well, there's probably a couple of other factors you didn't look into. So the knees usually is the first place where you start feeling a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
But I don't think that if you are running 30 minutes a day, that it's bad for you. It's really healthy. It'll make your knees stronger, if anything.
Do you think running is more damaging than other sports, like swimming, for example? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Running is an impact sport. So you hit the ground, quite a lot of times. Like, in a marathon, you
every step.
Every single step. That's a lot of steps. Half a marathon a day is a lot of steps that I'm putting weight on, because you balance on one leg. You hit it on one leg. It's not two. So all that weight is to one side, to the other side. When I was doing triathlons, the swimming and the cycling was a lot easier. And even you have a look at Eliud Kipchoge, who is the best marathon runner in the world. He only runs for about 12 to 14 hours a week, which is not a crazy amount. But if you have a look at some of the Olympic swimmers or cyclists, they could be cycling for 5-6 hours a day. They could be swimming for 3 or 4 hours a day. So, running is definitely a hard sport.
Is mobility something you swear by?
I think over the last few years, I learned that mobility could be a lot more important than flexibility. Anyway, for me personally, I find that if you kind of open up your joints and look after your joints, the belly of the muscle, which could be the calf, would already be a little bit more flexible than just focusing all your time on stretching your calves. If you look after your ankles and your feet and your hips, your hamstrings and your calves should be loosened up. But if you don't, if your ankles are tight, you try and run, usually what you're going to start feeling is going to start feeling tight calves or tight hamstrings. So definitely mobility has been something that I've been doing on a regular basis, even if it's only 5 minutes a day for the last 8 years. And, I've ran, as we said, pretty much half a marathon every single day for the last 8 years. So it's a lot of running, and I've never had an injury. My first day off. The only times I've ever had days that I didn't run is when I got sick, and that's usually from flying from a race. So I do a race, get on a plane straight away. Immune system is really weak from the flight. I'll get sick. That was the only times that I've ever missed running days in the last 8 years. So I've never had an injury that I missed a running day, and that has to do with mobility and strength.
So what do you suggest is the mobility work people should do to keep their joints healthy when it comes to, people that want to pursue running? What joints should they work on mainly?
Hips and ankles, hips and feet.
Okay.
So yeah, knees is pretty much just got stuck between feet and your hips. So there's nothing to really look after your knees. Like there's no need to put focus onto knees. It's all about hips and feet, ankle kind of area. There's a lot of things are going on in our feet, and we really need to put a lot of time into getting that mobility right for runners. And if you want to start running, I guess probably a little bit quicker, that's when you start focusing a little bit more on the hips as well, because you need to open up your stride a little bit to go a bit quicker. So you got to make sure that the hips are kind of loose, and mobility in your hips will affect things like your shoulders and your arms and your knees obviously and your feet. So it kind of all works together, and it doesn't have to be too much. I think that people overcomplicate it. Things. You don't need to go and do classes with mobility experts. All you got to do is be consistent, and that's what I've been doing. I've been doing, some days 2 or 3 minutes, some days 10 minutes, but I've been doing it every single day for the last 8 years, and that's where you see the results. It's not by going to a mobility class for half an hour once a week or once every 2 weeks and thinking, I'm going to be a great mobile athlete and I'm never going to get injured. It's about doing a little bit, but every single day, and that's when it pays off.
But what if someone doesn't actually know what exercises to do and how to do them? Do you teach them, or?
I have a video on YouTube.
You have videos, okay.
And, I've learned personally from YouTube and like personal kind of experience. Like,
you love YouTube,
I think it's a great tool. It's got a lot of free information, and, I learned things like, how to put a wall. Like I put a wall in my house a few months ago, and I saw it on YouTube. Yeah. How to put reticulation in the garden. I saw it on YouTube. So it's very, very kind of powerful. I think the mobility on YouTube, most of it is not running specific. So I did put one video out there, which is like a 15-minute workout, which is specific for runners, or from what I used myself over the last few years. And that just came with time, kind of doing some exercises and seeing how my body reacts to it. And then now I got to the point where I know what mobility exercises I need to know to be able to stay injury free. Yeah. So I think that there's obviously a lot of general mobility there. But if you want mobility specific for running, a lot of the focus that I do in my video is definitely hips and feet.
How seriously do you think people should take a recovery when it comes to running? And if they want to get to your level? Good luck, guys.
No, I think again, it comes down to consistency. Like, you got to look after your body. So like, you can't expect yourself to run 10K every single day. And, your body will break down unless you're going to look after it. And that comes with good sleep, good hydration, good nutrition, mobility work, strength work. And it doesn't have to be too complicated. Like, you don't need to go to the gym and lift, heavy dumbbells to work on your strength. It can be basic work that you do at home, but it's just about coming back and doing it again and again and again. And same with your diet. Like, you don't have to have the cleanest diet in the world, but you just got to be consistent with, eating well most of the time, and you will be okay.
Yeah. So what are some of the recovery secrets that you use for yourself on, daily or weekly?
Pretty much for the last 8 years, I've been sleeping with my compression calves, on my kind of like obviously on my calves, but just to increase blood flow. So you need blood flow. Recovery happens, a lot of it happens while we're asleep, but a lot of recovery happens with active recovery. So compression is another way of active recovery. So you compress something, and then if I hold this against my arm, I let go, there's more blood that's going through, which means it will improve the recovery. So having the compression on my calves for 8 hours a night, just gets a bit more blood into my calves. Just something that I've been doing for quite a while. Things like sauna is something that I've been doing probably in the last 3.5 years, which I absolutely love. And I went last night and I try and go twice a week probably. Ideally is you stay for 20 minutes, then have a cold shower, a cold plunge for 2 or 3 minutes, then come back in again for 20 minutes. That's something you want to build up to, especially if it's a hot sauna, if it's like, 90 degrees plus.
Wow.
But so you want to build up to something like that. So I didn't start at that level, but that's definitely when I'm going often. That's where I'm aiming to, is 2 times 20 minutes. And that, helps with sleep, recovery, growth hormones, so many things. So that's been a big part. Definitely kind of making sure that you're hydrated, obviously, throughout the day. I think that, waking up, having a big glass of water, drinking throughout the day, always having the water with you, at your desk and stuff like that, straight after running, kind of flushing everything. Because when you run, there's a lot of kind of build up in your muscle that you want to flush out. And that happens with hydration, nutrition, active mobility, active recovery. So you want to keep moving, things like that. Definitely really, really help.
Can I ask you how many liters of water you drink during the day, roughly?
I would like to say 3 or 4. Like if I go to a sauna session, it can be like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I remember back in Hong Kong that, during the summer, because I lived 5 years in Hong Kong and trying to train there during summer, I can go through 10, 12, 13 liters a day.
Wow.
Because of the humidity. When you try and run twice a day at 100% humidity and 90% humidity, you consume a lot of water. But my goal is to, I don't think that I have like a set amount of water that I want to drink each day, because it depends on my activity or what I'm doing, how much I'm running, when I'm running. But I just make sure that I have water with me all the time, and obviously keep an eye on the color of my pee, and that's like an easy way to kind of know it.
This podcast is happily sponsored by WeUp, the leading experts in protecting people from harmful chemicals and heavy metals found in tap water. Do you know what the main downsides of using tap water are? Many people say that their tap water smells just like the swimming pool water, sometimes worse than that. Dry skin as well as itchiness after showering, it's real. Some see hair dryness and have to deal with hair loss more than usual. What about dandruff? Blech. Breathing in chlorine while having a nice steamy shower sometimes can worsen the symptoms of your asthma and eczema, and those are just a few of the harmful contaminants contained in tap water. Drinking tap water potentially exposes you to heavy metals that your body may absorb and store for life. Worry no more, we have the perfect water filters for you. Search weup.com.au. WeUp is spelled W-E-E-U-P, and you can also find us on social media at weup.au or WeUp Filtering Beyond Water. Just remember, if you don't have a water filter, your body is one. Now, back to this amazing podcast. What about meditation?
Yeah, I do a little bit of guided meditation, especially to go to sleep. I went through stages through the last few years where I did like morning meditation and, Headspace app for like, morning kind of sessions. Now it's kind of on and off. I think that, I need to improve my kind of going to sleep, kind of that pre-going to sleep kind of cycle that I'm doing, like my routine before going to sleep. So that could be like reading a book or listening to a meditation, just to kind of calm my mind so I can actually fall asleep and sleep deeper. Yeah. But yeah, I've been using guided meditation, on my phone with different apps for the last few years. I've done some non-guided meditation, and I went through to like proper meditation classes a few years ago as well. But yeah, I just find them a little bit too much, and some of the guided ones are just simple, and
yeah, they are.
You can kind of do it anytime, click whenever you're ready, and your mind just frees itself for a little bit, and it kind of makes it feel a bit nicer and a bit easier.
Okay. I'm asking that because I started a few meditation practices. One is TM, one is Vipassana.
Okay.
And I find that, understanding your type of personality, I think you will actually enjoy to go for one of these because it's a fucking challenge. Like, I know you're saying like my guided meditation are much easier, but I will say that when you learn to meditate, you can get into the spot, and it's not easy. It might take years, but I think you will find it interesting.
No, I went through like, where you kind of literally just meditate by yourself or through a mantra, or, I've done a little bit of that here and there. It's also like, I guess I've never really found personally like that much benefit from it, that I've never really stuck for it for a long time. So it would go,
consistency,
go a few months, and then I'll stop, and then actually I might help a little bit now. So yeah, even right now, like even with that sleep meditation that I do, some weeks it can be every day, and then some weeks it can be not many at all. It really also depends on what's going on in my life, like how active my mind is at night. Do I feel like it's 11 o'clock and my mind is all thinking about work or training or racing, then I'll put that meditation and I can listen to it 3 times in a row, and that can be 45 minutes of trying to fall asleep and meditate at the same time. So I think it depends on what stages of my life I'm at.
So what else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would say 80% of my running, I try and run on softer ground. So obviously concrete roads are nice to run on and balanced, and you run probably a little bit quicker, but it is impacting on your body. And especially if you run twice a day, it's a lot of impact and a lot of heavy hitting on your body. So I always try and, run on grass or trails or something a bit softer whenever I can, even if sometimes on the road, on the side of it, there's a bit of dirt. I would purposely try and do a couple of steps there, and, that just kind of makes it a bit softer on the body. I also use a foam roller pretty much every single night. 10 minutes, watching a documentary, I would foam roll literally every single night. Just a free way of getting a massage. I wish I could afford getting a proper massage twice a week. Maybe one day I will, hopefully. But for now, I can't. So it's massaging. It's foam rolling, which is pretty much like a massage almost. And then also I have a basic little massage gun that I would use probably 2 or 3 times a week. Kind of just, and I think a lot of people kind of wait till something hurts before they'll start doing some recovery stuff and massaging themselves. You want to be doing it before something hurts. So if you have a car and you service it on a regular basis, usually it's not going to break down in the middle of the freeway. If you don't service it and it does break in the middle of the freeway, it's going to be very expensive for you to tow it out, get it fixed, you lose a day of work or whatever. So it's the same with your body. If you look after it on a regular basis, you're not going to get injured, and you're not going to, if you're a runner and you get injured, you could be out for 6 weeks. You got to go and see the physio 10 times. You got to do this and this and this for recovery. Suddenly you missed out on a few weeks of running. You spend hundreds of dollars in the physio, which could have been avoided just by being consistent and doing things when you didn't have to because your body was feeling good. But that's the key, is you do those things on a regular basis so you don't get to the point that your body breaks down.
Yeah. We talked about water, but what about if you want to hydrate and replenish all the minerals that you lose?
Yeah, I mean, when you start running quite a lot or exercising on a regular basis, you need a little bit more than just water. Electrolytes is obviously very, very common. While I was training in Hong Kong a few years ago, I would take so many things just to kind of get the energy back to do another run in the afternoon and then do another run the next morning. And I used to take magnesium zinc kind of tablet, dissolves in water, because when you dissolve it in water, your body absorbs it a lot quicker. I used to take vitamin C because when you train a lot, your immune system usually is a lot lower. Things take magnesium Q10 and all of that. And it used to be a lot of tablets that I took every single day.
Yeah, it looks like you had 10 different tablets. And
that's right. I put them all in
alchemist.
Water. Yeah. And then a few years ago, me and my wife kind of wanted to see if we can create a tablet that had them all. Especially designed for straight after exercise. You want to bring back the vitamin C straight in, the magnesium straight in, the electrolytes, a little bit of BCAAs, a bit of Q10. We developed BIX, which is our own little company, and actually the name BIX is her first, her family name is Bender. So the first letter from her name, and then the first 2 letters from my surname, which is Ixel, is I and X. So BIX. Came up with the word BIX, which kind of worked pretty well. That was 1.5 years ago that we started that, and pretty much it's been going fairly well because I think people understand that we did that in the purpose of creating a good product, not just making a lot of money. I think a lot of those nutrition companies, this is something that I learned in this last kind of 2 or 3 year journey. A lot of those nutrition companies, there'll be a bunch of investors kind of going, how can we make some money? There's a hole in the market here. Let's make a product as cheap as possible, but invest all our money into marketing, and they usually do well. But our mentality was different. We spent all our money on development, research, production, and nothing on marketing because we had nothing left. And I think that we came up with a product that people kind of appreciate now, and they see the difference from the taste. So it doesn't have that chemical taste to the ingredients that we use. And, we manufacture in Germany. We could have easily got it done in India, China, nothing against those places, but we kind of wanted to stay with the highest quality, and Germany was kind of the way for us. And it could have been Romania or Russia or something like that as well. But we definitely wanted to create a good product that if it didn't sell, I can use it for the rest of my life. That was
Yeah.
kind of the mentality. It's something that I want to use and something that I'll be proud to kind of say, hey, give this a try. So it's been a fun journey, and I've been enjoying it. It's been definitely a big journey.
Good on you for creating something that it wasn't there. That's entrepreneurship is like finding solutions to real problems, and
And it's a small thing, it's not an iPhone, or it's not a Tesla. It's a small hydration tablet that you put in your water and it dissolves. Instead of putting 6 different tablets that I used to do before, now I just put one.
Yeah.
And
saves you time and hassle.
Yeah, exactly. And a better quality of actually knowing where the product comes from. And a lot of the pharmaceutical kind of supplement industry is very dark, because a lot of those big players, those big investors, they don't want to show the process of production, where things are made, and you don't need to. You go to the shelf in Coles, where are the vitamins made? You don't know. They don't need to put it made in Australia, made in this. So, there's a lot of players out there that want to kind of keep it hidden. And for us, we want to be, transparent. This is where we make it. This is what we use. And, I think slowly people are starting to appreciate that and seeing that the big players of this supplement industry are not as good as they might think they are or say they are.
Yeah. And I find, especially nowadays, that food is poor of minerals. I will say that even if you're not a runner, even if you're a normal person, and you just want to integrate, minerals, I think that's a great choice.
Absolutely. I mean, I think our food today does not have the same amount of minerals, vitamins, like what it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's getting worse and worse. So you need to supplement, especially if you you have a busy life. You have a job, you have kids, you have a family, you have a lot of things on. You need a little bit more, and just an easy kind of natural way to bring in a little bit more vitamins and minerals into your body.
He also has magnesium, if I heard well.
Quite a lot of magnesium, yeah.
And I think people are so stressed nowadays that magnesium is one of the first things that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think zinc and magnesium are super important. For me, I've been supplementing with zinc and magnesium and Q10 for the last 8 years. It's been my base. I also think that, people are very kind of protein, kind of I gotta get protein for recovery.
Yeah.
Where this is, designed as a daily recovery supplement. So a lot of people think, well, I need protein for muscle kind of recovery and muscle build. That's because the gym industry is just so big and all the focus there is on protein. When you want to build muscle, you need protein. But if you don't want to build muscle and, magnesium can do a lot, for recovery and muscle support and muscle health. And that's why we have so much magnesium in this product, because it's something that I've been believing in for a long time.
I like magnesium, and I used to take magnesium powder when I was in Italy. And it's funny enough, I don't find here a magnesium powder that is only magnesium.
Yeah, absolutely. I would use pure magnesium. Well, it was magnesium maybe with some other flavors, but in a dissolvable tablet, just magnesium. I mean, I think there isn't pure magnesium here. It could be with regulations. I think Australia is pretty tough with regulations and what can come in here and what cannot. So that could be a reason.
How did you find out what type of minerals you actually needed to?
Yeah, so I mean, we worked with a German sports scientist for, getting
From
them.
Perth?
No, in Germany.
In Germany.
Yeah, so we kind of, we talked with obviously it was a 2.5 year process.
Yeah.
So it took us a long time to make sure that we kind of balance everything right. Because also you can fit so much in one little tablet, right? I want to put more of this. It's hey, there's no more room. The tablet is this size. It's a small tablet. And it was the kind of, we needed to make sure that the product is also easy for you to carry, because you want to consume it straight after. So it's not like a big bag that, you have to wait till you finish your run. Now I'm going to drive home another 20 minutes. That recovery window closes. So, we want to make it sure that it's easy to carry, it's simple, and you just put it in a bottle of water, and that water you can get, in a tap anywhere. So I think that some of those things definitely came in mind when we were making the product, is making sure that it's, easy to use so people can actually use it. It doesn't have to be super complicated.
Yeah.
So that kind of limited how much we can put in each tablet. But then again, this is a supplement that you're going to have one a day, kind of one straight after you exercise every single day. And if you do, you keep those vitamins and minerals in a nice, healthy level. Your immune system is nice and healthy. And it's just about that consistency. It's not about having, a protein shake after your really long run once a week, which I think is okay. I personally don't do it, but I think it's okay. But this is more about that kind of every single day kind of recovery that I had in mind, where a lot of the focus is on recovery after your big race. Like, this is your protein drink after your marathon, which is great. But there wasn't any focus on daily recovery, which is important.
Yeah.
Because if you don't recover daily in your training sessions, you're not going to do well in the marathon. It doesn't matter if you take the best gel now in the marathon, if you take the best recovery supplement after the marathon. What matters is the last 3 months. What did you do in those last 3 months? Did you train hard? Did you train on a regular basis? Did you stay consistent with a healthy diet? Did you supplement correctly on a daily basis? And if you did, that marathon time will be a lot better than not worrying about the training, but focusing on the gels during the marathon and recovery after. So a lot of people are focusing on the big dance instead of focusing on the lead up to it. And
big mistake.
Yeah, really big mistake, because you can't do well in the big race if you didn't do the groundwork under here. And this is where your focus should be. You should not even think about that big race. You'll do well if you do this correctly. You're not going to do well at the race if you just focused on the race. You got to focus on the lead up to the race.
They remind me of when I used to do martial arts. There was this saying, train hard, fight easy. That's the same thing.
Absolutely.
You can get to fight day, and I'm like, just have to train for
Put your focus into training. Do that every single day on a regular basis. Be consistent with it. And trust me, you'll do well on fight day, on race day.
You also talk about diet and food. What's your ideal diet?
Yeah, I mean, I come from my parents have a restaurant. I've been eating a lot of meat throughout my whole life. So you see me now at 59 kilograms. I used to be 75, 78 kilograms.
Wow.
Kind of lean, kind of just muscle. And I used to eat steaks 3 times a day. I'd eat meat 3 times a day. But for the it's almost 9 years now, I've been vegan, 100% vegan. And I just gave it a try for 2 weeks, and I couldn't lie to myself. I was feeling better. I remember the first time was actually Christmas 8 years ago, and my dad is I told him I'm not having any meat today, and I just had some salad and vegetables. And my dad said, oh yeah, you probably do that for a week or two. And every Christmas we still have that joke that, oh, he's still vegan, which, I just can't lie to myself that I feel better. And it's showed in the ability to run every single day, to race, so much. Not many people can race 30 times a year. I'm running a race, there's some weekends that I did 3 races in one weekend.
Wow.
I think that for me, it's kind of works for me. I think a lot of people, maybe try a vegan diet or go into it, but they already go into it with a closed mind because they don't want to give up, the meat. Because I love steaks. I like chicken. I liked it all. It tastes good. It's amazing. But then if you go into it with an open mind, I think that a lot of people will be surprised about how they're feeling, how they're performing, energy levels, and it's obviously beyond that, but in that personal kind of sense, I think people will be surprised. And I went to it with an open mind because I told myself, you're going to give this a good try for 2 weeks. If it does not feel right or you don't like it, you go back to what you did before. What's the big deal? You lost 2 weeks of you've been just eating meat for the last 25 years every single day. Should be okay, right? I just couldn't lie to myself. And after those 2 weeks, I just never looked back. I had more energy. I was feeling better. I was more clear in my mind. I was less aggressive. And those kind of things. 9 years, and I've never looked back.
I guess all the stress hormones that are in animals.
Absolutely, yeah.
I actually went half vegan. I just eat a lot more vegan meals now, but then during the weekend I can have some. I wanted to diminish the quantity of meat that I was eating because I personally don't like meat that much. Okay. Since I'm a kid, I've always loved animals.
Yeah. And
even though I eat meat still, I just feel bad about it. So I don't feel good when I do it. And also I work in the city sometime. I'm a busker. I sing in the street. And always on Sunday there is those people that, advertise for free animals, whatever. And I'm like, the videos that they show how they treat animals, it's horrible. And I hope that in the future, this is going to be like the Holocaust. I
think even not that. I think if we look at smoking and look at you go to a doctor in the 60s or 70s and they'll be smoking and, but now we know that this has caused a lot of, bad things to a lot of people in health. So I think that's the way we're going to look at it in a couple of years. I mean, with animal rights, like, obviously, I couldn't agree more. Like, I think it's really bad what we're doing to the animals. And I know that I don't need it, to perform and to do well. Like, I've been doing well in my life. My wife's vegan. We're happy. We're healthy. I get my blood tests done every 6 months, and the doctor keeps kind of asking me, why are you getting your blood test kind of done? Like, why do you keep coming back? I just keep an eye on it. The doctor doesn't know I'm vegan. I'm still coming back, and he's like, look, everything is perfect. I don't know why you keep coming back. I just kind of do it more for kind of the running, not because I'm vegan. Track. Yeah, just to make sure everything is on track. But yeah, I think that, we can see the growth in it lately because people are starting to connect the dots. Meat doesn't come from the supermarket. There's, something behind it. And I think that you can also see it now that, I have a little baby. She's 9 months.
Okay.
And kind
Is that the only baby you have?
Yeah, we only have one, only one for now. But kind of seeing the connection between my wife and her and breastfeeding and all that. And you kind of imagine, a cow being taken away from its mom, like, that would be...
That's horrible.
It would be the worst,
That's horrible. Yeah. And it's done on a daily basis on millions
of times, that's right. Yeah. So, yeah,
I think... I also worked in a farm when I first got to Australia, where we were milking cows. And at that time, I didn't think much about it.
You don't connect it. Yeah.
It was like, I actually thought we were doing the cows a favor because, like, so much milk, they feel like full. So we're actually doing a good thing here, just milking them. But then I actually watched a video where he actually explains, look, the cows to have milk, they have to have, the calf, and the calf is taken away. So imagine, the pain these animals, every time they get, like, a new calf, get it away, feed milk to humans.
But the thing is, it's not like we need it for survival anymore. Like,
and we don't even digest it properly.
No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of runners that I coach, like, they have stomach problems. I'm like, let's try taking dairy out. They take dairy out for 2 or 3 weeks and suddenly no stomach problems.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I think that people are just so used to it. Like, that was normal. Your parents kind of brought you up like that and you think it's normal, like drinking milk and stuff and eating meat. Like, I'll go to a restaurant, I would just order a steak without looking at the menu. I didn't know there was other options because that's the way I was brought up. But then when you start looking at things yourself, you realize, look, this is not as simple as what it looks. And I think that's the same with, like, let's say kids 200 years ago growing up with slaves. Like, that was normal. It's not normal anymore. It's not right, And a lot of those things are kind of like, I think we were looking back and kind of going, wow, we should have stopped that a lot earlier because it's not right.
It's funny you mentioned that because last night I was watching Jungle.
Okay, yeah.
And I love the movie because, it's just crazy how it used to be. And
yeah, but it was normal, right? Like, you wouldn't even think about it twice.
Even to Australia, Aboriginal, I actually read an article, when I got my citizenship, I think from 1950 or 1850 or whatever, the Aboriginals used to count like sheep. Like, they didn't count them like humans.
Wow.
I was like, fuck, we're so stupid.
But, like, we're still doing this. Yeah. And it's done for profit and for bettering us, but it's not really, right? I can have a good life, feeling energized, healthy, achieving my goals in running, in business, in everything without it. So, I think people just need to kind of question a lot more things and do their own research and kind of try and connect some dots and then realize that it's not all rainbows behind this big wall that a lot of companies are putting up.
But what about the cons about being vegan? Is any that you think is downside?
Not really.
Nothing. Okay.
I mean, I have people ask me questions. How many times do you kind of have a cheat day and eat some meat or cheese? I don't. Like, I made up my mind, and it's easy when you make your mind up to do it. Like, and I don't think there's any downsides. Like, how can you justify millions of animals dying because your meat is tasting great? Like, how can you justify that?
Yeah.
If anything, it just gives me like a positive outlook knowing that I'm not part of it. I can look in the mirror in the morning and kind of go, well, that's nice not being a part of millions of animals dying today.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I want to understand what's stopping me to go full vegan. Because I still do meat and I still, not much, but cheese. And what I think about is I grew up with that. Like, my until I was 21, I come from an island where cheese is like, God.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do. So I don't want to rush my path because I really want to find a way that I can replicate so that I can, the way if I understand it, then I can help others go to that path, because I really don't understand it still what keeps me hooked on that.
Well, it's exactly what you said. You came from their history.
Yeah, but I want to change that.
You just stop it one day. Like I quit smoking, like literally. I just said, all right, that's it. It's not right. I'm going to stop it. Like one day I just stopped it. And I knew for many years that it's bad for me, but I kept on doing it. But then I was like, all right, well, enough is enough. And I stopped it. And, today the vegan cheeses, trust me, they taste exactly the same. And
maybe because I haven't experienced options that are maybe better or sometimes different, or just sometimes I'm like, it's easier. I think
easier.
That's what it is.
I think it's comfort. It's definitely comfort. That's why, and I think with more vegan options coming out, you'll see more people making that change.
I mean, it's a growing movement, probably one of the...
It's just people realizing, I think. Like, I think people are just opening their eyes and kind of realizing that, I don't need that from a cow.
Waking up.
Or like, you think about yourself, like, are you drinking titty milk from a cow? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, no other animals do that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Even my wife goes like, she's obviously feeding the baby milk from her tit. But if I had to try it, I'm like, I don't want to try it.
Yeah.
Like,
You think it's gross.
I think it's gross, but from a cow, well, this is a cow that I don't know, that's been pumped with, all the medicine, eating like shit, doesn't move, but that's fine. That's a delicacy. Yeah. I think it's kind of the way we look at things. Or even look at the fact that, in Asia they eat dogs, but here we look at dogs as pets.
Yeah, that's another thing that I never understand.
Which is like, it's just kind of like how we were brought up, that dogs are our friends.
Yeah.
And sheep is our food. But for them, sheep could be their friend and dog is their food.
Yeah.
But for us, those people are disgusting.
The funny part is when people actually react like you crazy when you talk about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, look, you eat another animal. What's the difference?
Exactly. Yeah. Like you see, if you barbecue a dog right now, you'll go to jail. But barbecue 100 cows and people come and eat with you.
Yeah. No sense.
No sense at all.
Can I ask you, let's change topic. And what's your take on fit health and on barefoot walking?
Yeah, I mean, a big fan of it. Like, I would, in summer, I would do a lot of kind of grass barefoot running. I wouldn't like go crazy amounts, but like I can do 1 or 2K just on my grass. I'm not a big believer of like big supportive shoes. I like to keep it simple. I do probably about 50% of my strength work barefooted, 50% with, only because I'm a runner. And I need to make sure that my legs also kind of work in a running shoe, because in the end of the day, I'm racing in a running shoe. And my end goal is to do well in a race. So I kind of break it all down to make sure that I still get some strength work with my shoes on, even though a lot of the time I don't. Foot health is a massive part, especially for a runner. Our kind of foot mobility, barefoot walking, wearing kind of very unsupportive shoes. Even when I do kind of pick up my running shoes, I definitely run with some really thick shoes, but I try that not to have support on the sides of the shoe. So under the shoe, doesn't matter if you have a lot of support under there. I think where it really is bad in today's shoes is the support on the sides. So your foot does not move naturally and kind of stops it from actually moving the way it's designed to move. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, but if I don't wear those shoes, my legs will hurt and this and this. It's because their feet are not adapted to it, because they haven't done enough strength work. It's not that their body can't do it. It's just that it's easier sometimes to put a shoe on that will fix all your problems rather than doing the work, which is doing stability work and balance work and mobility work and walking barefooted and stuff like that. If you do all those things, you don't need those big supportive shoes. And that support, I'm talking about the sides. So under your foot, having support under your foot means that when you're running, I'm talking about when you're running, it's nice having some cushioning, so it's actually less impacting on your body. So in that sense, I kind of believe in that. But there's a lot of shoes that have a lot of plastic around the shoe, which kind of stops your natural movement, which, I'm not a big fan. But then again, a lot of people kind of say, the barefoot shoes are great. Like, it sounds great to me. They go get them. They start running in them every single day. They get injured because for the last 35 years, they've been wearing big supportive shoes that protect their feet. And suddenly they saw something on YouTube, changed straight away overnight, and they will get injured and go, well, it doesn't work, because you got to give your body some time to adapt to that change. Like any change, you just got to take, with a physical change, you got to give it time. So, when some of people that I used to coach, when we make that change could take 3 months, between the shoes they're using, if they're less supportive. And that can start from just walking in them once a week and to, running 1 time a week, and then running twice a week, and then 3 months on, that kind of transition can be actually finished. But it just takes time. Like, you got to remember that you're listening to this and you go, yeah, less supportive shoes are a great idea, barefoot shoes are great, but you've been wearing supportive shoes for the last 30 years. You can't just overnight expect your body to go, okay, well, now you want no support, let's go with that. Something will hurt unless you do that change, slowly and gradually till your body adapts and kind of gets used to that new change that you just made.
Do you find there is a right and wrong running technique?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I've been personally pushing to that basic kind of technique as a running coach, that you land underneath your body on your midfoot. And if you can do that, like, most of it will kind of fall into place. So if you can focus on landing under the body, not in front of it, and then landing on the front of your foot and not the heel. But saying that, there's been people winning marathons and world championships with landing on the heel.
Wow.
But also it's different, because if you learn to run as a young kid at one way, you should be able to run the same way forever. If you started running at a later age, then you need to put a lot more focus into your running form. And then I think that focusing on the right form does make a big difference.
Do you feel is shoes a fault why people run, for example, touching with the heel?
A little bit. If everybody runs barefooted, you see they'll run a little bit different, because they will have to be a bit softer on the landing.
Yeah.
They'll have to be a little bit more careful when they land. You try and run quick on your heels, it's a little bit painful. So definitely shoes, the shoe industry is a money-making industry, you know what I mean? Like, how can you sell a $200 shoe if it doesn't have bubbles all around it? And,
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot
Aesthetics
of it,
as well.
exactly. Like, a lot of it comes down to making money. And, how can you justify paying an X amount of money for a shoe that doesn't look like it's worth it?
Yeah.
So in the 90s, a lot of Nike started putting bubbles in it, and, other gels and stuff like that, which, we could do without it, because it just means that our feet are getting weaker and weaker, because they're too dependent on, on that supportive shoe. Like, you might feel good for a little bit, but in the long term, you are hurting yourself.
Yeah. Another thing, I know many people might think that running is a sport that only involves legs, but what are the other parts of the body that you should really take care of and train?
And it's definitely a more focus on legs, lower body kind of a sport, a single-legged sport, but core is definitely important, especially for your running form. So having a strong core, and I think that's the difference between having a six-pack and a strong core. Having a six-pack doesn't mean you have a strong core. You can get a six-pack by just literally just doing crunches, a lot of crunches, and your abs would look nice and ripped. But having a strong core is a lot different, and that's got to do a lot more with my stability, balance of your core, being able to hold, different positions. That means that you have a strong core, and that is important for running, especially when it comes to your running form and injury prevention and stuff like that. Because if your core is not strong enough, you're doing a bit of extra with your legs, and something compensates and something drops instead of staying all strong and tight, I guess, in one spot. So yeah, absolutely. Core is, you don't have to, again, too much, but it's about that consistency. And then not just kind of going like basic crunches. There's a couple of other exercises that require a little bit more balance, and they will build a stronger core rather than a six-pack. I think that's probably the main kind of focus.
And what type of exercises do you suggest for the core? When it comes to
core, can be like a little bit more like, kind of let's say twisting with like, from side to side. Like imagine you're sitting kind of down, obviously, on the ground, and you twist from one side to another side. Like, that's actually working on your core. I mean, obviously it could help build your six-pack, but the focus is on building a strong core, not on kind of making it look good. kind of planks are not too bad, like, stuff like that will kind of develop that core, especially like a plank where you take out, one hand out or one leg off. So you imagine you're in the plank position, and then you would take the elbow out for 3 seconds, put it back on. Other elbow, you would take it off, take the right foot off the ground, so you're balancing on 3 instead of balancing on all 4. So that's when kind of that core is actually doing that kind of balancing work instead of just being in that one spot.
Yeah.
So if you go into the mentality of any exercise, that's where you kind of want to be thinking, but that's training in general. How do you kind of get your body outside that comfort zone and kind of get it a bit more, get the body guessing a bit more so that it can actually improve?
Yeah.
So that's definitely kind of my mentality when I go into strength work. Is obviously there's the basis that I want to do, but when I think outside the box a little bit, is how do I make it harder, but usually losing balance on purpose, and then your body has to kind of balance itself. Yeah, exactly.
You have some videos anyway where I
probably have like 50 workouts for
50.
runners, on YouTube. People keep asking for more. I'm like, look, there's 50 there. They're all 15.
Enough.
Yeah, that's definitely enough for a long time.
Yeah.
15 minutes each, pretty much, like, stuff that you can do at home. They're all very basic. Like some of them you might use like a water bottle or a little dumbbell or, kind of bands that I use quite often in my own training.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of very, very simple. And, unless you're like an Olympic 1500 meter runner or a 5K Olympic runner, you don't need to do too heavy stuff on your legs. You can achieve a lot by body weight stuff at home. So
So what else do you suggest training? What about legs work or?
So anything that is single-legged strength. So running is a single-legged sport. So when the difference between walking and running is that when you run, you have one foot in the ground at a time. Otherwise you're walking. If you have both feet at the same time on the ground, you're walking. If you have one at a time, you're running. So for a split second, you're balancing on one side, on one foot. So you want to make sure that a lot of your exercises are focused on spending some time on one foot, because that develops those little muscles in your feet to balance you. So like you're staying strong when you are landing. And it's very easy to stay strong when you're landing for 1 or 2 or 5K. But then it gets a lot harder after 30K, 40K, 50K, 100K. So that kind of makes a big, big difference. So a lot of single-legged work, imagine a single-legged deadlift, which would be like an easy exercise I would do on a regular basis with no weights, literally just opposite hand to opposite leg, touching down the ground, even mixing it up between bent knee and straight knee. Making sure I spend a lot of time on one leg.
What is a race that you will never forget about?
Definitely kind of my first ultramarathon race, which it was a 250K self-supported race in the Atacama Desert in Chile. So self-supported means that you have to take everything that you need for the race. Like they only give you water, which is limited water as well, probably about 4 to 5 liters a day, which you are running in the Atacama Desert, which gets to 42 degrees during the day and -1 at night.
Okay.
So you got to take everything with you, your sleeping bag, your clothes for the whole week.
How many days will you be out for?
So the stage race, it's like a stage. So imagine you do about a marathon every single day. And then on the last day, you do like a double marathon. Kind of
just to finish it up. Kill myself.
After being in the desert with like limited food for the last 5 days. It's pretty much a stage race. So you have day 1, 42K from this point to that point, and it's all like soft sand, rocks. Like it's not a nice paved road. There's an aid station with just water every 10 to 12K, and they will give you like 1 liter, like very limited. Like you want to be drinking more, but they obviously the logistics of bringing water to the middle of the desert. This is in the middle of nowhere. Like this is the Atacama Desert. In Chile, it's very kind of like hard to get to as well. So then you finish that stage, you have the food that you brought with you. Like they don't give you anything. They will provide you a little bit of hot water that you can use that hot water to put in your kind of rehydrated foods, meals that you brought with you. I didn't even have a toothbrush because I want to save on weight. So then like it becomes like a bit of kind of a game. Like, do I bring more to be more comfortable, or do I bring less and be quicker in the race?
Yeah.
So obviously I wanted to bring the bare minimum, and that was probably 200 calories a day, which was the minimum. So they require you to bring 200 calories a day. That's the 2,000 calories a day. Like that's
2,000, not 200.
Sorry, 2,000.
Oh, okay. I was at 200. It's like, what, 2 bananas?
Yeah. So 2,000 is the bare minimum that you got to show them that you have. So before they check all your gear the day before, and you got to show them, got at least 2,000 calories a day here. You can use it differently throughout the time. You can finish all of it in one day and have nothing for the rest. I mean, it's up to you. But that was the bare minimum. I think for maybe female, it was, 1,800 calories a day. Male was 2,000 a day. So yeah, I kind of brought that bare minimum amount of food, no toothbrush, like one t-shirt that I ran in the whole time, one short, like, no underwear.
Bro.
Is kind of like I saved on every single gram that I could. Even like the packaging of the rehydrated food, I would take that out and put it all in one big bag. So that means that I had one meal for the whole time I was there, one of the same meal. So it was like pasta, vegetable pasta, and I had that for breakfast and dinner. Like it was rehydrated all in one big bag. Like imagine opening 20 of those rehydrated meals that they sell in Anaconda. And putting it all in a plastic bag just to save on the packaging of each kind of one. But yeah, I kind of got that, and it was hard. Like obviously it's a hard week, and you sleep on rocks. You sleep they kind of put some cover on top, but the ground is like there's nothing pretty much on the ground. So you got to bring a sleeping bag or a sleeping mat, and you can be a bit unlucky, and some nights you sleep on proper rocks. But you're so tired, you're so exhausted, you've been
just sleep.
Yeah, and you're tired, and you finish, let's say the stage starts at 8 a.m. and you finish by 1 o'clock, because it's 42K, but it's in 40-degree heat, and it's the desert.
Conditions.
Yeah, so it could take 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
So then you have a couple of hours before it gets dark, because there's no light, so you kind of go to sleep when it gets dark. Just try and rest a little bit, eat a little bit. And get ready for the next day. And then the next day, it's pretty hard to wake up to do it over again. And when you get very tired after the 5th day, that's the day that I think the long stage, I call it the long stage. For me, I think it was 92K. So that was really, really, really tired. And now you got to do the long stage. And yeah, that's definitely when, I kind of got a taste of ultra running and what it was. Because the first 5 days were hard, obviously really hard. But I definitely got to talk to myself quite a lot on that last day. And then also I had a food poisoning the day before.
Why not?
Yeah. So I was actually getting antibiotics during the race. And I'll be running to the toilets, to the toilet. I was running and I actually lost the first stage. So I was leading the first day and I had to run to the bushes,
Yeah.
And while I was in the bushes, the guy overtook me, and there was maybe 400 meters from the finish line. I just not gonna hold it.
I feel like that was a strategy of yours, just to lose extra weight.
I mean, when I finished that race, I was probably about 56 kilograms. I did not look healthy. If you think that I look skinny now, and when I go to the doctors now, I'm considered to be anorexic.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I'm underweight, 59 kilograms for 174.
I think we are the same high, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm 59 kilograms. It's not very healthy, but I was 56. It was, it was not, it was not fun. But yeah, it was tough. But it's kind of a race that, I don't know, it's not I want to do it again straight away. It's definitely maybe something I want to do later on. But definitely the experience. Yeah. Oh, well, it's an experience that I would never forget, that whole week.
I will never forget, and I only heard about it.
You'll never forget this story.
No. What comes to mind for you when you think about growing up in your hometown? The first thing that comes to mind?
Definitely playing soccer on the car park, with
friends.
Yeah, just we have 2 rocks as the goals, and we have one ball that for years. There's the same ball for 10 years.
Until it goes over the fence, and then
you still find it somehow, make balls out of plastic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
And what do you believe makes you successful?
I think my addictive personality probably, which is a good and a bad thing. So it depends what kind of direction it's headed towards. Yeah. So obviously I was addicted to energy drinks for a long time. I used to drink 2 or 3 liters of energy drinks a day. I was addicted to alcohol. I would have at least a six pack of beer for years, from the age of 18 till pretty much when I started running, I used to have, at least 6 beers every single night because I was just addicted to it. But then also my addiction can be to triathlons or running, which I'm addicted to running right now, or racing even, I'd say that. So I think that works well if it's in the right direction. It doesn't work well if it's not. But luckily, I kind of turned it around at the age of 25 because it could have easily, went the wrong way.
What's your definition, first of all, of success?
I think it's probably freedom. Like, I think flexibility and freedom. Like, I don't look at success as millions of dollars. I don't look at success as winning the World Marathon Championships, the Olympics, for example. I look at the freedom of being able to choose what you do on a daily basis and how you spend your time and what goals you chase. For me to be able to start my own company, that's already, success. Like, even if it fails, doesn't fail, because we live in Australia, you have that opportunity. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, you become a waiter and make $60,000 a year. Like, we're super lucky, right? Yeah. So for me, that's already like a big part of success is just even living here. Yeah, no, 100%. So that's already a big step towards what I see success. And the way that I'm kind of living right now, which is a combination of working for myself 7 days a week and training 7 days a week, I still see it as, as success.
And freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing what you love, 100%. Yeah. And why did your parents move here? Obviously for the same reason, just to find a better country, I guess.
Yeah, my parents got divorced when I was like 7, and I moved here with my mom and my stepdad. Yeah, I think growing up in Israel and kind of meaning to go to the army because it's compulsory. And And back then, some of my mom's friends, their sons died in the army because, it's pretty tense there. My mom didn't want me to go to the army, and she knew that most likely this sporty kid that doesn't, because you can go to different paths in the army. You can be in an office, you can be in the front line, right? Yeah. She kind of felt like he wasn't like a good student in school. He would probably end up being on the front line. Yeah. So she definitely wanted to get me out of Israel, and that was one of her main goals of getting out. And it took us a long time to be able to get the permanent residency, which 4 years of kind of applying, reapplying, So yeah, we're super lucky.
They came earlier than now. Now it's a bit harder to get it.
Yeah, we came in 2001. Yeah. So it still wasn't easy. But yeah, I guess it's a little bit easier now.
Yeah, it's easier than now.
Yeah, definitely.
Even when I came to Australia, it was easier than when I actually got my permanency here. Yeah. It's, so many documents. What challenges have you overcome? You talked about your addictions, but what are the things that you overcome that at the time felt like impossible to overcome?
I don't think there were any, to be honest. No? I think that once I moved to Australia, I just knew that it's going to be all okay because I felt like, everything will be okay. And then, in the end of the day, it should be okay. I'll always have enough food and shelter over my head. So
that's a big luck we have of coming from nothing.
Yeah, because it gives you the opportunity to chase things like running. Example is my dad was a really good runner. He ran the first 100K race in the Soviet Union in 1967. He was, probably a few seconds away from the Olympics back in the 60s. But he had to stop running at the age of 20 because if you were running in Soviet Union on the streets, you were getting chased by somebody, by the police, or escaping from somebody, and people didn't run. Yeah. You had to work and just make enough money to feed yourself. You had a family. He couldn't run anymore. He's running now at the age of 65, but back then, he couldn't. What challenges, what I mean? We don't really have too many challenges here, the way I see it.
Another question is, what 3 words would you use to describe your approach to life?
I think definitely freedom is definitely something that is the way that I kind of look at things. Is this gonna affect my life in that sense? Being flexible and making my own choices, which now they are different because I have a family now and I have a business now. Maybe I can't just go to Europe for 6 months and backpack, but definitely freedom, probably success and flexibility.
What are you most thankful for at this stage?
Being healthy, having a family. I think that, sometimes when I have hard days, let's say, for example, this weekend, I was sponsoring 2 races with BIX my hydration company. At the same time, I'm running a marathon. At the same time, I'm shooting a video for YouTube. Obviously, I'm already tired from setting up tents, driving from here to there, setting up things. And then I still have to run this marathon. And I'm kind of thinking like, wow, is this really worth it? And then I kind of give myself a reality check. It's like, imagine how much harder this would have been if you would have been blind, or if you had only one hand or one leg. What are you complaining about? How can you even complain about it? Straight away, it puts me back onto the path and kind of going like, be realistic.
Once again, perspective makes a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. And that, it's something that I do every time I complain about something. You go like, what are you complaining about? You are healthy. You have enough money to have a roof over your head, to have food. You have freedom to choose whatever you do, and you are complaining that the run today is too hard. Like,
first world problems.
Yeah, exactly. And, whenever I do that, I just, it kind of puts me back on the path, which is good. I think that, people should ask themselves those questions, and it brings you back to the ground straight away, because the Wi-Fi connection is not great in this room.
Yeah. So if your life was written into a book, what would you name this chapter of your life?
Probably call it like a cocktail or a mix. Oh, like my whole life, or this chapter right now?
This chapter of your life, what would you call it?
I think this chapter right now is...
It's a long book, by the way. It's at least 100 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the whole book would be a cocktail, because like, being born in Ukraine, growing up in Israel, moving to Australia and Hong Kong, and all the things that I've done in between. But right now the chapter is definitely adapting to this family business life away and being less selfish. Running is a very selfish sport. You spend hours and hours running by yourself for this one race, which, if you're not really getting a lot of money for it, it's not really worth it. So right now is kind of, adapting to a new kind of sacrifice. So I guess it's learning to understand that it's not all about you. There's more things in the big picture. Yeah. And it's not just about you, which is, I'm enjoying this new kind of chapter, which, hey, I can't do this because I want to spend some time with my daughter, with my wife. And it's very important sometimes to also make sure that you put enough time into that.
Yeah. Do you find that by spending more time on your own, you learn more about yourself, you love yourself better, and you love people better as well?
Not really. No. Like, I've always spent a lot of time by myself. I was very kind of a lonely kind of a person. It
seems like you don't actually need a lot of people in your life to be happy.
No, I don't. Definitely not. So I'm just happy just to have me and my wife and our daughter. My wife is different. Like, she would want to go and see her friends, where I'm like, if I have some time off, I'd rather, go to the sauna or something like that, and just let read or, or even watch a documentary or something like that. I would definitely prefer to do that, where she would prefer to go and hang around with some friends. I do like to spend time with people with similar mindsets. Yeah. But then again, like,
it's hard.
Sometimes it's hard. Like, especially like, Perth is a great place to live, but it took me 40 minutes to get here, and we live in the same city. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I also have to justify that. I kind of enjoy being by myself, or with the right people, the very close family. Yeah. And that's enough for me a lot of the time. I'm sure I'll get to a different stage in life where that might be different, but right now, when I was younger, I wanted to spend more time with friends. Like, I wouldn't go out by myself. I would need all my friends so we can get drunk together and go out. Yeah. You know what I mean? But at this point, I'm kind of moving away from it for a little bit and focus a bit more on the family. And, I'm sure that once my kids are older, maybe I'll go back again to being a bit more social.
Priorities change.
Exactly.
100%. And I didn't ask you, do you have a nickname? Like a running nickname?
No, not
like
really.
The Train, or
I think
The Unstoppable?
I think because I already have such a weird name, people it already takes them a while to kind of get it. So
how do you pronounce it?
Vlad Ixel.
Okay, that's
well. My full name is Vladislav. I must have said Vladimir, because that's what people say.
Vladimir?
Most people say, is this Vladimir? And I say, no, it's actually Vladislav.
I actually like the name, especially the surname. It reminds me of something, I don't know, like space.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different, right? Yeah, the only kind of connection that I could think about it is that there's a suburb in Brussels that is called Ixel. So they have a university there. So that's the only kind of connection I can make.
Okay, before I forget, I have a little present for you, which is a whole body cryotherapy session at the Polar Room in Subiaco. Oh, cool. I don't know if you've ever been there. They have a fancy machine to spray ice on you.
Yeah, I've been to a couple. I haven't been to the one in Subiaco, but I've been to a couple of them. Yeah. They're pretty cool.
You let me know how that goes, because I actually haven't tried it yet. I'm into cold showers and ice bath, but apparently that's much better than ice bath, because it goes to minus 140 degrees. Yeah, it's just fancier.
When you are skinny like me, that you get colder like that a lot quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I remember, like, before I started running, I would walk with shorts and a t-shirt the whole year. Like, I would not even have a jumper. But yeah, once you start losing weight as a runner, you get cold very quickly. So for me, if for you that feels like, minus 20 degrees, or, for me, it's going to be like minus 100. I'm already cold here.
I want to thank the Polar Room for sponsoring this episode. They are a super cool cryotherapy studio in Subiaco, where you can finally enjoy the cold exposure benefits, as well as enjoying facials and infrared sauna treatments all in one place. So check it out. Okay, so I think it's time to wrap this up. It's been amazing actually to have you here. As a first podcast, I have to be honest, I was quite anxious, but I worked super hard, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it was great. It was good fun. I think we talked about some stuff that I usually don't get asked, so it was fun.
Listeners are gonna look for you on social media. Where can they find you?
Yeah, I started doing a little bit more on YouTube. So Vlad Ixel on YouTube and Vlad Ixel on Instagram. And
what looks like your near future? Anything is coming up?
Yeah, I want to do some more races. Like, I want to do some fun marathons. Like, I've done a race in Kazakhstan.
Okay.
Like a 3-day race in Kazakhstan.
That's where Bora comes from.
Yeah.
That was the reason why you went.
Yeah, I went to look at. I want to do like some cool races, like like I want to do a marathon in Iceland. So I think that I always like traveling. Like I've probably been to 100 countries. So I really like traveling, and I really like running, but I don't have to be like super competitive. So I'd like to find the balance between traveling and running, where I can do a race, do well enough to maybe finish in the top 10, but then be in a cool place and hopefully soon, once we can travel.
Yeah, hopefully soon. Soon enough. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for tuning in into Unstuck. Do you want to know more about a particular subject? Or tell us what your favorite takeaway was from this podcast? Make sure to check us out on social media at Unstuck with Nick. Nick is spelled N-I-C-K. Easy. Also, feel free to share the love. We're here to help as many people as we can. By leaving a great review on Apple, Spotify and all the other platforms, you'll be helping us do just that. Have a great day and stay healthy.